Hey guys, it's Tom here from Pro Direct Running, and today I am unbelievably excited to be joined by Ingrid and Henrik Ingebrigtsen. As I said before, I'm a massive fan of you guys, so thank you so much for giving up your time to speak to us today. First of all, I would like this to be quite a nice natural conversation so that whoever's listening can get some really great insights into your training at the moment, how life's been over the past few years. So the most logical place to start, I suppose, is how are you guys doing? I guess life's been pretty crazy since Jakob's incredible performance in Tokyo and everything like that. So how are you? How's life? How's the family?
We're good. It's quite normal here and right now in green mode. So yeah.
Well, for us, it's all more or less business as usual after Jacob's gold in Tokyo, because I think for us the most important competition or medal or whatever is always the next one. So I think he's already focused on his next few races. For me, it's been a strange season because I had a hamstring surgery in June and still recovering from that, doing the rehab. But Ingrid is still in season and have a few more races lined up, so she's still racing.
Amazing. I'm sure we'll get on to talking about races and things like that in a little while. But I know that here in the UK, as you've probably seen from the World Cup, both good and bad, we get quite patriotic and really support our nation in different sporting events. I've seen some amazing footage over the Olympics of, people watching Jakob's performance on the big screen at the track and things like that. How has the support been for you guys just in general, not just talking about Jakob and Philip over in Tokyo, but just generally, how does the Norwegian nation, I suppose, support you as athletes?
Well, I think normally, like the expression, the nail that sticks out gets hammered. It's a pretty good expression and it explains how Norwegian people think and act. I think the last few years, some things have changed, and when there's better results, people get more. They approve of people's unorthodox methods or their strange way of behaving. So I think we're more accepted than we was a few years ago.
Nice. Okay, it's good to hear. I'm sure, again, most people who are going to be watching this or listening to it already know who you guys are. But it might be nice for context just to go right back to the start. And so I guess, Henrik, this will probably apply more so to yourself. But when you first got started with running, out of all of the sports that you could have chosen, I guess cross-country skiing and football and other sports like that, what was it that made, I guess, running stick? Why did you choose to pursue running as seriously as you did?
I've always enjoyed running, but at some point I considered myself a cross-country skier until I was 17 years old. That was my main focus, and I did skiing in the winter and track and field running in the summer. But we live on the west coast of Norway. There's not a lot of snow here, so there's no skiing community or whatever. We're like separated from the rest of the Norwegian skiers are mainly concentrated around a few big cities on the other side of the country. So I felt like I was excluded from that whole thing, and that's one of the things I like about running. It's very inclusive. Or you feel included in the running. There's room for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're Olympic level, if you're just starting out, if you bought your first pair of running shoes, it doesn't matter. You can line up right next to all sorts of different runners on the starting line and just compete against them or yourself or the clock or whatever. And there's not a lot of, it can be a focus on performing, of course, because it's a competitive sport, but it doesn't have to. So there's room for all kinds of mentalities and all kinds of runners. So that's one of the things I love about running, and also that we're directly linked to everyone who has competed or run a certain discipline. So I can compare my times against Sebastian Coe and whatever, and I know that per now I'm a little bit slower, but I think I can beat him maybe. And it's easy to compare, and you don't really have all that equipment stuff that you have in skiing, because that's why the Norwegians are so good. They are always working on the details, and they have a lot of money. They have big buses, they prep their skis, and we don't want anything more than just the same pair of spikes as anyone else, and then we're ready to race.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, you talk about running as being a very inclusive thing, which obviously it is. There are so many people who purely run for the social aspect and community aspect of it. But I know for myself, when I played football when I was younger, my mum and dad, they'd take me to football matches at the weekend and things like that. But there was never, I guess, a conversation around turning that into a more structured coaching training plan for us. So you mentioned, as I say, running being this kind of quite laid back community thing where you don't need all this equipment, but you obviously took things to another level, to quite an extreme. How did that happen? Did that come more from your father being your coach, noticing something in you, or was it yourself thinking, actually, I'm quite good at running, I could do something with this?
I think it's more our competitive nature. So when we were kids, it was always, everything was a competition. If we usually went hiking every Sunday in a forest or in the towards the top of a mountain or something like that. And of course, we didn't really talk about it being a competition, but of course, when you saw the top, it was a race to the top. And going back out of a forest, when we saw the car, of course, it was a competition by touching the car first. We never talked about it, but it was like a natural thing. So I think just we started competing in like a small local races. Our father, he was a hobby runner. And it took us along, and usually there was like a 10K for the adults and maybe 400, 600 meters for the kids. And we got a bib and a medal and gave it everything we had. And of course, that kind of developed into what this is today.
Yeah, and I mean, Ingrid, for yourself, obviously, the first thing that some people will think of when they think of the Ingebrigtsen name is Henrik Philip Jakob, but you obviously have other siblings who haven't necessarily gone down the route of pursuing running as a career. What is it that made you decide to choose that path when you do have other brothers who decided against it?
I always wanted to compete on the higher level that my brothers do my whole life. It's just the environment that is in my family. But it's just now I realize how hard work it is and how hard work it is every day. So of course I have up and downs, and sometimes I have much motivation and sometimes I don't. But if I put in the work, I think I have what it takes to make it to the top.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely got good role models to compare against, and yeah. So one thing
maybe I can shoot in. I think the biggest part is just by talking about these things, sparring when she does a race. Talk about what did you do wrong, what did you do right, what do you need for the next race, or what did you think doing that? And just by sparring, by talking to someone with a lot of experience with all these things, I think it's a huge benefit, and the road becomes so much clearer, I think.
Yeah, so Ingrid, it's like Henrik said before, it feels like a natural thing for you. It's not like you're trying to be competitive and trying to feel these things. It's something which is just in you, that you want to be the best and compete at the same level as your brothers.
Yeah, I always wanted it, so it just the work that it had to take to make it.
Amazing.
The environment, competitive environment. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, one thing it would be really interesting to know, before I got into running, I competed in a sport called football freestyle. I don't know if you'll have heard of it, but similar to the Ingebrigtsens, there's two brothers who live in a tiny little village outside Trondheim, I believe, the Fagerli brothers, Erland and Brynjar. They're good friends of mine, and they have also, they've been multiple-time European and world champions in the sport of football freestyle. It would be good to know, is there something special that Norwegians are eating for breakfast, or is it a genetic thing, or is it kind of hard work and discipline that's been instilled in you just as a cultural type thing?
I think Norwegians are encouraged to try to become athletes or whatever, but I think it's more like for the masses. We want we want a lot of people to do sports, and the system is not really made to make the top athletes. So I think if you have to be the right person with the right mentality to actually stand out and to dare to take make it your own kind of road to becoming a world-class athlete in any field. But Norway, we're pretty lucky because we have a lot of sporting facilities, and well, we're a wealthy country, so there's a lot of where soccer fields and athletic stadiums and indoor athletic stadiums, indoor football, ice hockey, there's, you name it, there's a lot of facilities close to where people live. So
it's always easy to find a place to train and some all that.
But I think Norwegians, they really do like winners, but they don't really like people struggling or trying to become winners. They don't like you doing they don't like you in the process of becoming a champion, but they do really like you once you're a champion. So it's like it's two-sided.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's it's quite an incredible thing, but I guess it makes more sense to me now. If you've got such incredible facilities and you're the right sort of person who's dedicated to becoming the best, then really there's not much to do but do it. Yeah, cool.
I really like the Nike slogan, "Just do it," because
perfect.
We don't really believe in talent. I don't really think that's a thing, because I don't believe Jacob woke up as a world-class runner, as the best runner in Europe ever. I think it's the training and his work that made him into the talented runner, because I think that's kind of like a loser's mentality. Because if a guy gets beaten by Jacob in a race, they say, "Oh, he's so much more talented than me." No, he's not. He's just put in a lot more and better work than you, and that's why he's better. So I think we don't have to. We have to give Jacob to acknowledge his work, not just make excuses for himself and just say, he started on a different starting line than us. So because that's really what they're saying, because running is a fair sport and you have to be on a level playing ground, and I think that's where we started, on a level playing ground, and your work determines how well you're going to perform.
I don't think it takes much research to look back into your history as a family to see that obviously your father being your coach, as you mentioned, he was a hobby runner. He wasn't a world-class athlete himself by any means. So it's not as if you come from a history of just world-class Olympics level athletes.
He's done the half marathon in 1:29.
Yeah, so a decent.
That's actually the Ingebrigtsen family record. And our older brother, he's starting. He lost 40 pounds the last year, and he's training towards running a half marathon in
Nice.
2 weeks. And
Nice.
he's hoping to grab the family record. He's hoping to run 1:24. So that's 4-minute case, and and that's just our mentality and our way of training and the way we work. It doesn't matter if you're top level in the world or if you're too heavy and just started running, because it applies to all, and you just have to do the steps.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about road running later on, because I've got some questions I'd like to know about that. But first of all, we've mentioned some of your success as a family within running, but I guess you've kind of also transcended the sport in a way with the Team Ingebrigtsen series. I remember when my daughter was very little, a couple of years ago, I spent a lot of time watching the Team Ingebrigtsen series. And I'll be curious to know what kind of impact that show has had, because, we've got a few household names as runners in the UK. Obviously, Mo Farah is very well known. And then Kipchoge, probably from his recent events, is reaching that territory of being a household name. But apart from that, there aren't many famous runners outside of the sport. How much did that show impact your lives? And are you able to do things like go to the supermarket and buy some bread without being, asked for photos and stuff like that?
Of course, there's some more attention now than before. But I think the biggest difference between before and after the TV show would be that I think that once people realize how much effort we're putting into this and how much work we're willing to do, and how much this is our life, we're not just training and going home after and just racing, and this is our whole life evolves around just becoming the fastest runner in the world, or as fast as we can. But there's the attention, like going to the supermarket and taking pictures with the fans. That's not I don't consider that a negative thing, but of course for me it's maybe different than Jacob. He's always he's grown up with like a camera in his face.
Yeah.
But for Ingrid, I think she has some thoughts on that as well. Like the added pressure that it puts on.
I was going to say, actually, Ingrid, I hope you don't find it too embarrassing, but it must have been one of the first seasons of the show. You were asking your brothers, like how often they train and do they train every day, and asking your dad, how old you have to be before he can train you. Since that time, obviously many years have passed now. How has your personal training developed? From desperately wanting to join in with your brothers to, I believe there was one clip recently where he let you run the last lap of one of their sessions together and things like that. So how has your training developed since those very early days?
Now I'm training with my brothers all the time. I am like in the little group. So yeah, it motivates me a lot, and my father is training me the same way, the same method like my brothers. So my training is going very well.
I think he's basing a lot of the progress from what Jacob was doing, but it's a little bit trickier with the girl, I think.
You have to do it something in the training. You have to do it a different way because it's different when I'm a girl. It's I'm responding on the training differently than my brothers, since they are a guys and I am a girl. So it's like
It's
like small details that is different that we trying to finding out in the process.
So it's like a constant evolving process to, I mean, it's quite hard to find information about your PBs and things like that online. I think you ran, is it 18 minutes flat for 5K?
Yeah, that was a good way to remember that from
over a year ago also.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was like the first race since the lockdown, and I've training every morning, and I've also been yeah.
She had a injury in her foot, so she had a few weeks off, some weeks off, and then she got once the corona lockdown started, she got more or less back into training at that point and just starting building her base, and it went pretty well. That
and then I ran the 5K, and I run like 18 minutes. So I was very glad that it gave me very much more motivation after the hard work from the winter, and it was.
But her personal bests now, they don't really matter because they will be broken pretty soon.
Of course. I'd be interested to know your mentality as well, because again, I think Jakob mentioned that even when he was very young, he saw guys like Mo Farah not as idols, but as competitors, even at such a young age. Do you share that mentality? Do you see women who are currently, performing on the greatest stage as your future competitors, or are you still able to kind of see them as inspirations and heroes?
I'm more like thinking like Jacob when I see they run 1500 meters like in the Olympic and in Diamond League. I just think that will be me one day, and I will compete like that, and I will be there they are right now. So I don't really see them like my inspirations and my idols. It's just my brothers that is my idols.
But of course, you get inspired by people performing well.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I guess that's what makes a winner, really. If you sit back and look at these people on a pedestal, then
because we have quite a few promising young runners now in Norway. In the European Championship, we had a lot of finalists, and some even got medals. So
I think the level in Norway has become much better than it was a few years ago.
Sure.
We just need a bunch of people doing the right work and training enough, and then the progress will just be very good, and we get medals eventually.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of training these days, it's fairly easy if you know where to look to find out a little bit of information about the sort of training that you guys do, like the double threshold days, fairly high mileage and things like that. What I would really be interested in is if each of you could just quickly go through kind of an average week of training. Don't give me any information that's going to get you in trouble with your dad, but just a kind of basic structure from Monday to Sunday from both of you would be awesome.
So Monday running, Tuesday running, Wednesday running, Thursday running, Friday running strength.
And Sunday running.
Yeah, Saturday running, Sunday running, and strength.
Yes, and over again.
Yeah, then repeat the next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that what you had in mind?
Not exactly, but we'll go with it.
Well, I can start with my week is usually about 170k in a normal high mileage week, with easy days, or just easy days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then interval sessions Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then a long run on Sundays, and then twice in a week we do weightlifting, and then 2 more times we do core training, stuff like that.
Nice.
And I have exactly the same concept as he has, just a little
Lower
less.
mileage.
Yes, I have like 110, 115
Wow. Yeah.
kilometers in a week.
For people who work in miles, that's about 70. So Henrik, you're running just over 100 miles a week, and Ingrid, that's about 65, 70-ish miles per week.
Like 110 miles per week is usually normal.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, obviously at ProDirect we are a retailer as well, and I'm sure that there's going to be lots of people listening to this who are very into their running shoes and carbon plated racers and things like that, which Nike are they've got to be the best at, surely. I'd be curious to know what your current running shoe rotations are for a week. So what shoes you're using for those easy or steady days, track sessions, road sessions, long runs. It would be amazing to get a little rundown similar to what you just did with your week of training, but also add the shoes into it too.
So for easy jogs, I like the Infinity Run
Nice.
and the Tempos.
Okay.
As well. So usually that's the 2 pairs of shoes I use the most for just easy stuff. But for intervals, I've started using the Alpha Fly a lot, because why not use the fastest shoe, right?
Yeah.
And for track sessions, it's usually always Dragonfly, more or less. So,
Yeah, I also have the Dragonfly.
What about the Alpha Fly?
No, I don't have Alpha.
And for longer sessions, like if we have a tempo run or something like that, the Pegasus Turbo 2 is a favorite.
Nice. Yeah,
I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, with some of the recent releases as well, you can make pretty much the perfect running shoe rotation purely from Nike shoes. So yeah, you're that's a solid.
And if you add in, I usually once in a while I use my Zoom Skylons just to give them some air, because I still have them in my rotation. They're still in my lineup. But, they're still. I think I bought them in 2011 or something like that, because they stopped making them in 2010. So there were still a pair of shoes left. But the shoes now are way more like they're easier. When you're doing, like, the biggest difference is you don't feel as sore the day after interval sessions or hard work as you did like just a few years ago, because running in the streak, if you're doing like a 20k tempo run or something like that, if you're doing that in a pair of streaks, of course they were fast and they were good shoes, but you would be sore the day after.
Feel it. You'd feel it the next
day. If you're doing that in Alpha Flies or something like that, then you feel you feel better the next day. So I think that's the biggest difference between shoes now and just a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive running shoe nerd in general, so I'm sure you've had a pretty incredible collection over the years of working with Nike. Yeah. So it's funny how obviously we mentioned the Dragonfly being the kind of gold standard of track racing these days. But all of the other shoes that we mentioned were road racing. And I said at the start, I wanted to talk to you about racing on the roads. It's pretty common these days to see athletes go from having very successful track careers onto the roads. Again, Kipchoge probably being the best example of it. Is that something that the Ingebrigtsens are keen on doing in the future? I know, Henrik, I think you've only raced once this year so far, right? Was it June? And it was within a second of your lifetime 5K PB.
Yeah.
You're still in phenomenal shape. But is road running something on the horizon for you guys and the Ingebrigtsens in general?
Eventually, because if I were to change my focus into like half marathon or something like that, it wouldn't require that much tweaking of our training system or our training program. So it's very much compatible. But of course, it's like, it feels like you're saying goodbye to Formula One and doing, Le Mans. But of course, there's a high level. But once you race in Formula One, everything else feels like a step down. And that's how I feel about track running. And I think Jacob and Philip would agree with me.
Yeah. Ingrid, do you kind of feel the same, or do you look at runners like Bridget Kosgei and things that she's doing in the marathon distance and aspire to reach that kind of level on the roads too? Or is it mainly track that you're interested in?
I feel kind of the same.
But still, your best race last year was a 5K road race. So it's like
it's fun to do sometimes, but I enjoy the track best.
Yeah, sure. I'm conscious of taking up too much of your time, so to finish off, the most logical place to end would be talking about the future and what you guys have got planned. So Ingrid, you're still so young and you're just at the very start of your running career, which I'm sure is going to be incredibly successful. But in the sort of not too distant future, what can we expect to see from yourself?
I would like to see that too. I'm very excited.
So what are your short-term goals in a few years? How fast do you want to run, and what do you want to achieve?
I want to run as near as I can on 1500 meters, as near as I can, like 4 minutes. So I will.
And now you're at.
And now I'm at
42.
42. Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to be better and have like some 10 seconds better of each year. So in a few years in the future, I will be pretty close to that goal.
Are you thinking about the junior championships or something like that?
No.
Not just the times. Just faster.
Faster.
Yeah, faster. Yeah.
And of course, I have this huge goal on the top to win a gold in the Olympic Games.
But first you have to be European champion. That's how it goes in our family. First you have to be European champion, and then you can go on to do the World Championship and the Olympics.
Yeah, it's funny. It's amazing how chilled out you guys are to speak to like this. When you think how like serious you are when it comes to the track, when Henrik's got his sunglasses on and you're lining up on the start line, to that compared to this conversation, it's funny how chilled you are outside of that competitive environment. Is that in keeping with how you feel once training's done? Are you the kind of family who enjoy just sitting back and relaxing after hard training sessions, or is it an intensity that you carry into other aspects of your lives as well?
So I think our day, if you were to observe us during the day, you would find that once we start our watch, this is training. It's more like there's like a change in mood. You go from being relaxed and joking around, and then you start your session, and then everyone's really focused. And it's like we don't have any room for
you don't
messing about when we're doing, especially when we do interval sessions.
on the track is very serious.
Yeah. So
Everyone is like in their own training.
Yeah, so it's almost like a competition, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
before a hard track session, it doesn't matter if it's a track session or if it's a big competition, because everyone's so focused and serious, and you can't really do that while eating dinner with your family.
Yeah, I guess it's not bad having, you know, world-class athletes as your siblings to train with on a daily basis. I can't think of many people who have got that luxury. So but yeah,
you're always compared to them.
Yeah,
for Ingrid as well, not really her pace is compared with us, but her professionalism, or her how well she performed, or if she's doing her best or is she slacking. So she's judged by the same standards in that way. But I think just by watching us do our training, it makes it easy for her to just copy.
Yeah, copy and paste.
But if you don't do it the exact right way, you will be told pretty quick.
Do you enjoy that pressure?
I know what to do and how to do it right.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it right, I hear it.
Yeah, it's funny you ask about. But of course, she feels the pressure, and we actually talked about this before we started our interview here. Do you want to tell them?
Yeah, like of course I feel the pressure pretty much now that Jacob has one goal as well. But for example, I was on the Norwegian Junior Championship here the other weekend, and I had a film crew that follow me everywhere the whole weekend, and people was like watching and watching me every time I come, and they don't care about the time. They just care about beating me in the race, because my name is Ingebrigtsen, right? So, and I have a film crew that follows me. So
she was not
have that at junior.
She is a first year junior as well.
Yeah,
so it's from 15 to 19, and she's a 15-year-old getting most of the attention, and so of course it's a pressure that sometimes can be hard to handle.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I feel like the most people I talk to like meet there and they talk to me about do you feel the pressure? They always ask, and yeah, I do, but
I do stop talking about it.
But it feels like they know it. They know I have a lot of pressure, and they kind of they see it. They kind of don't expect the biggest, because they think that I have brothers, and it's a lot, and I think they see it. So,
but I think Jacob he started being filmed when he was 10 years old. I followed more or less everywhere he went, but now I think he's seeing some benefits from that, because now, while entering the Olympic Stadium, and he's asked questions before or after races, it's just
another conversation.
Yeah, it's just another day doing his work or whatever. But so, of course, when he goes home and he's relaxed, he never answers his phone. He never talks to anyone, because sometimes he needs to, get some time for himself. I think Ingrid also will develop the same skills that Jacob has, by just not being stressed by all of the attention, and then maybe eventually just need to be away from all the attention at some point and some periods of
I think it's a good learning so early, that I also had a film crew around me since I was like 5 years old. So you can see the first season in the first episodes or something, he pulled me, and I like
she's so
I'm like
young.
5 years old in the so he was asking me if I wanted to do it, and I was like yes every day, in snow, in rain, everything.
I remember the clip. I remember seeing it. It's funny, but no, it's really refreshing to hear you in the position that you're in and with that pressure, be honest and open about it. Because, you know, you hear quite often athletes try and act tough, I suppose, and say they don't feel pressure and they don't get nervous and things like that. So to hear it from a young athlete like you, I think it's probably going to inspire and help a lot of people who are feeling pressure at their local 5K or even at a school sports day, for example, you know, who want to perform for themselves. So yeah, it's nice to hear you talk about that. But yeah, I mean, for you, Henrik, you mentioned coming off the back of some hamstring surgery. What's the recovery like for that, and when do you see yourself back racing again? And that is the final question now, I promise.
It's a progress. So a couple of weeks ago, I started walking without crutches. And there's still a few weeks until I can start jogging again, and it's a progression that whenever I can run a little bit faster in my training, I need to stabilize and then take another small step and then see how long it takes. But the surgeon who operated me, he said I could be back racing next season. So maybe not indoor, but next season I will be fit to do that, and I shouldn't be bothered or it shouldn't affect me negatively, the hamstring.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've come back from several injuries before, so I'm sure you can do it again. It's easy to forget you're still you're 30, right? So you're still pretty young. There's still lots of running left in your legs. So I'm excited to see your recovery. And Ingrid,
I'm just like a car. Because, once it hit 100,000 kilometers, you need a big service. Change the oil and change everything, tires, and then it will run smoothly for another 100K.
Nice. Well, the Alpha Fly is like your new tires.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, thank you so much for speaking to me today. Like I say, I'm a big fan, so it's an honor to get some insight from you guys and have this sort of conversation. And I hope everyone else who's listening will find value from it too.